Crystal Palace have finally revealed their asking price for centre-back Maxence Lacroix, but could Arsenal be lining up a hijack for the French defender? Chelsea are asking for £195 million combined for Enzo Fernandez and Mamadou Gusto, but say they will not be disappointed if both players end up staying at the club. The plan for Mamadou Sarr is to get him a Premier League loan, and could that involve a cheeky loan deal to Crystal Palace to help facilitate the Maxence Lacroix deal? Chelsea reiterate their intentions pertaining to the goalkeeping situation, with Mike Penders coming back to fight Robert Sanchez for the #1 spot. Ryan Kavuma-McQueen and Shin Mayuka are both expected to go out on loan deals, with Shin Mayuka potentially signing a new deal first. And the Trevor Chalobah news continues. Yesterday it was really close, but all of a sudden now apparently there's an £8.5 million gap in the valuation. Welcome, Blue Believers, to another episode of the Stamford Sync, where we are syncing up with everything Chelsea FC. And today we're going to be talking a bit about Maxence Lacroix. We're going to be talking about defenders, players that were looking to go out on loan. So let's just get into it. Chelsea Dodgers posted this via the Times Sport. Chelsea will have to pay £55 million for Maxence Lacroix, who wants to leave Crystal Palace. So finally, we have a number, and I'm not gonna lie to you, like, I don't even think that this is mad. Like, that seems like a reasonable amount. Like, you think about how crazy the market's getting at the moment, and you know, you do have to compare it with the likes of Jan-Paul Van Hecke going to Tottenham and stuff like that. £55 million for Maxence Lacroix, not a big deal at all, I don't think. Especially when you compare it to the fact that we spend nearly £40 million on the both of Benoit Badiashile and Axel Disasi, an extra £15 million for Maxence Lacroix, who has Premier League experience, winning credentials. Doesn't seem that bad, does it? But the transfer window is never without its problems and dramatic twists, and there has been one, including Arsenal. Post posted this via Ryan Taylor Sport from Hand of Arsenal. Arsenal are interested in Chelsea target Maxence Lacroix. So Simon Phillips also did a YouTube short about this, saying that Arsenal are not going in, but they're keeping an eye on the situation. Now, I'm not going to lie to you, Arsenal don't need more centre-backs. They made the signing of Piero Hincapié permanent. I know, is it Saliba? I'm not sure how bad Saliba's injury is, but at the same time, they've got centre-backs. They've still got Ben White. They've got Gabriel. They've got Saliba. They've got Piero Hincapié. One of the reasons that they won the Premier League last season is because they've got so many good centre-backs. And even people like Jurrien Timber. Jurrien Timber's been playing at right-back, but ultimately is a centre-back as well. So, like, I think Calafiori might have already been loaned, sold, or is on his way out, or I saw something about that quite recently. But either way, they've got players. They've got loads of centre-backs. So, just thinking about it from Maxence Lacroix, if Arsenal were interested in any player at the moment, like it's the same with the Morgan Rogers thing, isn't it? If Arsenal were interested in any player at the moment, the first thing is they're the league leaders. So, of course, it seems likely that Arsenal would be of interest to any player. But similar to the Morgan Rogers situation, it's not just about they won the league, let's go there. You know, we've seen that happen loads of times where players haven't kicked on. But the thing I think is interesting is, like, with the Morgan Rogers situation, for example, okay, yeah, cool, he probably does favour Arsenal, but at the same time, is that the best place for his football? If they are going to keep playing this stinky Brexit ball where they, you know, long throws and free kicks and set pieces and stuff, you know, and don't get me, resolute defending is really important. So Maxence Lacroix, does he go to Arsenal being like, as soon as Saliba's fit again, I'm not going to get any game time? And they've got all of these centre-backs already. So with the Chelsea situation, despite having a genuine litany of centre-backs on our books at the moment, Maxence Lacroix looks at every single one of those and goes, apart from Levi Colwill, I'll get in. And Levi Colwill plays a very different role as well. Maxence Lacroix isn't looking at Badiashile, Tosin, Fofana, Disasi. He's not looking at these guys as competition. He's just like, yeah, I'll get into that team. Like 100% he gets into that team. And ultimately, you know, just as much as winning things, players want to play football, don't they? Like, it's all fine and good going to Arsenal and, you know, having a Madueke style season where you play when Bukayo Saka isn't fit, essentially, which is for the most part what Noni Madueke's been doing. And I'm sure that Noni Madueke, albeit he did play a lot last season, if Bukayo Saka gets back to full fitness and starts banging him away again, there's no chance of Madueke getting on the pitch. And I would have thought with Maxence Lacroix at Arsenal, it would be very much the same thing. It's like, right, okay, Saliba's injured. I'm not sure exactly how long that was for, but at the same time, it's like, right, I'll play while he's not, but he's one of the best centre-backs in the world. With the Chelsea situation, you look at our absolutely devastating centre-back situation that we're in at the moment, and you're like, I get into there and I improve that team. So, you know, even if Arsenal are hanging around like a bad smell in the background, looking to pinch him from under our nose, like, oh, mate, I'll be screwing. I'm not going to lie, it would be really bad of Blueco to let that happen as well. And with all of this negotiating that we've done, and, you know, we've been talking to them for absolutely ages, if Arsenal would just come in and bang, drop the money and he goes there, that's going to be so annoying, man. But I don't think that will happen, because there's other other situations as well. Do you remember the Moises Caicedo to Liverpool situation? We'd spent a long time laying the foundation for Moises Caicedo to come to Chelsea. The agreement was in place, this, that and the other. Liverpool will appear out of nowhere and go, bang, here's all the money right now. No weird structure, no nothing like that. We just want him, give him to us. And Moises Caicedo said no, because the deal, the bid was accepted from Brighton. They were like, yeah, cool, we'll accept that. And then that kind of, we were rushing around and we had to end up going in with more money. But at the same time, Moises Caicedo came out and said, I had this agreement with Chelsea, you know, Liverpool are a great club or whatever, but, you know, I had this agreement with them. Maybe we get something like that with Maxence Lacroix. We don't know, because we don't know how the negotiations have been going. It was a lot more open with Moises Caicedo than it has been with Maxence Lacroix. Everything kind of being done in the background pertaining to this. £55 million, yeah, sweet. That is just good standard centre-back money at this point, isn't it, to be completely honest? Maybe the price has gone up a little bit. I'm not entirely sure why. It might be because there's other suitors at the end of the day. If Arsenal have raised their interest to Crystal Palace, then maybe that's made them go, maybe we can get a little bit more money for him now. But either way, despite how annoying it would be if Arsenal swoop in under our noses and take Maxence Lacroix, I do think that we will get him, and I think £55 million is a reasonable price. Let me know what you think in the comments. And guys, if you've made it this far into today's episode of the Stamford Sink, please do me the distinct honour of liking and sharing the video, subscribe to the channel, or just roast me in the comments, whatever gets you through your day. Right, so next up we're going to talk about Mamadou Sarr and Enzo Fernandez. Chelsea Dodgers posted this via The Athletic. This was from an article that I read today from Simon Johnson. Just like to give this tweet some context, the article itself was basically saying Chelsea are looking to raise 300 mil plus in the transfer window again this season, and we did that. We broke the record last season, and they apparently were looking to do it again. And the whole article basically talks about, even if we don't sell Enzo Fernandez and Mamadou Sarr, how we might go around doing that. So the tweet says, Chelsea will not be disappointed if both Enzo Fernandez and Mamadou Sarr end up staying. Neither are untouchables, but not many teams can afford the 120 mil and 75 million pound valuations. So yeah, it's cash, man, isn't it? It's cash at the end of the day. Like, you know, we've talked about the Enzo Fernandez thing ad nauseum at this point. I'm genuinely getting nauseated just by talking about it, but it is true. 120 million pound. There are only a few teams in the world that could afford that. 75 million pound for Gusto isn't the same sort of level as Enzo Fernandez, but I think you know, most teams won't disagree with why we're charging 120 million pound for Enzo Fernandez, but a lot of teams will probably look at 75 million for Gusto and be like, not sure about that. So 195 million pound, if we sold just both of these players for that amount of money, then that would put us over the 300 million, because we've already sold André Santos for 50, Tyreek George for 25, that's 75, Marco Correa for 50, which is 125, and we got a little bit for Jimmy J Morgan, which was like 3 mil or whatever, but we're already over. So it feels like no one's gone out, doesn't it? But we've actually made over 100 million pound in player sales already. So even if we don't sell Enzo Fernandez and Mamadou Sarr, we have a huge amount of players that we still want to get rid of, and those were the likes, you know, in the article he talked about Alejandro Garnacho, difficult to sell, but 40 million pounds. Axel Disasi and Benoit Badiashile we can get 40-50 mil between them. You know, there are a lot of players on the books that will potentially be looking to get out, that, you know, we'd probably be able to make, not easily. Like, there were some players that he talked about in there where he was bigging them up a little bit too much for my liking. He talked about Philip Jorgensen, and we paid 20 mil for Philip Jorgensen, and he was like, Philip Jorgensen played 80 times for Chelsea and Villarreal, and although the 8 goals against PSG lives in recent memory, he's made all of these appearances in the Conference League and this and that. I was like, nah, man. I was like, look, we'll probably break even on Philip Jorgensen, bearing in mind that we paid 20 mil for him and he's been at the club for a couple of seasons, so his, you know, 10, 15 mil on the books, I reckon we'll probably break even on him. But there are some players, definitely a lot of players in the background that we will make money on. It's interesting as well, because it said, so the new Premier League rules are we're allowed to spend up to 85% of our revenue on playing stuff. The UEFA rules are only 75%. Now, he mentioned in the article that we still need to comply with UEFA rules and for this season, and I'm like, why? Because we're not in any European competition. So if you know anything about that, let me know in the comments. do we still need to comply with UEFA regulations this season, even though we're not in Europe, like, or you know, for this kind of financial year or whatever going into next season, because they can't ban us from playing any of our players or registering any new players for European competition because we don't have any European competition. So let me know what you think about that. But either way, I think it's a good space to be in, right? Because the Enzo Fernandez saga, at the end of the day, Argentina winning the World Cup might be the best thing for that, because all of a sudden he becomes a World Cup winner again and he scored important goals on the way to it. Look, someone called me out in my comments the other day because I said I almost want Argentina to win just so we can get rid of him. Like, I want Spain to win. Like, obviously I want Spain to win. That loss to Argentina was, you know, really hard to take. Although you can't take away the whole performance from them. Obviously, like, you know, I think Spain would be deserved winners and they will be the team I'd be backing. But the caveat is, if Argentina do win the World Cup and Enzo Fernandez has been an important part of that, which he has, last minute header again, a box crashing header against Egypt, and obviously it was a phenomenal goal against us. It was a phenomenal goal for sure. We can't take that away from him at all. But at the end of the day, if he becomes a World Cup winner, then all of a sudden maybe Real Madrid are like, oh, maybe we do like him now because he's a World Cup winner. Or there's talks about Atletico Madrid at the moment. Apparently there's interest in Manchester City, but I don't really rate that. You know, because they want Gusto as well. Can you imagine Man City dropped 200 million on Enzo Fernandez and Mamadou Sarr on us? That'd be jokes, wouldn't it? So, but I also agree with the assertion that I wouldn't be disappointed to keep either of them. In terms of playing ability, I don't want Enzo Fernandez to be the captain anymore. I want all of this dramatic nonsense just to go away, essentially. Mamadou Sarr, excellent utility player. If we can't get 75 mil for him, you know, he's a good player to have at deputy right back at the end of the day. Because as of right now, if we sold Mamadou Sarr, that kind of only leaves Palestra for the most part, because I don't expect to see Reece James playing that right back role very much because of his hamstring. So we probably need to go out and get another supplementary right back if we were to sell Mamadou Sarr. But either way, yeah, I'd be happy to keep both of them. If we sold only these two players and no one else, then that's 300 mil. If we sell these two players on top of the players we've already sold and manage to shift out a load of the other people that we're looking at, we could be looking at making nearly £400 million, if not over, in one window, which would be wild. Next up, we're going to talk about Mamadou Sarr. Chelsea Dodgers posted this via Debuto and Standard Sport. New: Chelsea are keen for Mamadou Sarr to move on loan to a Premier League club next season. They have also not ruled out keeping Sarr at the club next term, and Xabi Alonso is expected to hold talks with him to determine his future. So I think, I kind of agree with both of these assertions. Like, I would like to see Mamadou Sarr get out on a loan to a Premier League club. Which Premier League club? We're going to talk about that in a second. But also, I'd be happy to keep him around in the squad. He's a good passing centre back. He can play on that left side. He would be, for me, the rotation option for Levi Colwill, where the likes of Josh Achiampong, for instance, would be, if we get a Maxence Lacroix, Josh Achiampong kind of takes that spot for me. And Josh Achiampong also can play right back, can play right centre back. So I do see Achiampong getting minutes next season for sure. Mamadou Sarr, I think we're harsh on him because he didn't come in and tear up trees halfway through the season where Maresca snaked us, destroyed the team, and then we brought in Liam Rossinha, who he had played well with. But it's not just about that. Like, young French lad, done well over at Strasbourg for sure, but you know, halfway through a season you move into a new country and, you know, new culture. You know, the bedding in thing is so important, isn't it? And he's had 6 months to bed in now. So if he was happy to take rotational minutes and kind of be willing to fight for a spot in the team, yeah, I think having Mamadou Sarr as a backup centre-back to Levi Colwill, who can pass quite well, isn't necessarily a terrible idea. But obviously Chelsea are looking outside of Maxence Lacroix. We're also interested in the likes of Jacobo Ramon. And, you know, so it's possible that we might go in for two centre-backs anyway. So if he were to go to a Premier League club, which one would it be? I pulled this from the Cy Phillips Sport Substack, and it says, been told by an SPTC source this afternoon that Crystal Palace have asked about taking Mamadou Sarr on loan from Chelsea as part of the Maxence Lacroix talks. So this is one of the reasons probably why this conversation has taken so long as well, because it has to work everywhere for everyone. Crystal Palace are obviously worried about if they sell Maxence Lacroix to us before they've got the replacement in, the replacement becomes more expensive. And we've seen that a million times. We're seeing it all over the place at the moment when you look at how much the market is inflating by all of these midfielder deals that's going on. So it's already happening in practice right now. That just makes sense. There was talk earlier in the window about potentially Josh Achiampong being, they were like, we want Josh Achiampong, and we were like, no, you absolutely can't have Josh Achiampong. And it came out a little while ago that we said Badiashile Dizassi, Tosinadada Bioyo, and obviously none of those move forward, although they did talk a little bit about Chalobah, but maybe he's going to end up at Como. But Mamadou Sarr at Crystal Palace also makes sense to me. Not exactly a replacement for Maxence Lacroix, though, in terms of player profile at the end of the day. Albeit they're both centre-backs, they are both quite different. It would just be another one on a long line of loans that you could probably see going well, right? Because this is the thing I like about Crystal Palace and our relationship with Crystal Palace. They always put time and effort into the players. Like, you remember when we sent we're talking about Mamadou Sarr now. You remember when we sent Andre Santos on loan to Nottingham Forest? Couldn't get a minute. Absolutely, just couldn't scrape a minute from anywhere, so we ended up sending him to Strasbourg, which went really well. It's all history, and we've just made 50 mil off of him. But you think about every single time we send a player to Crystal Palace, they play a lot and they do well. Ruben Loftus-Cheek, Conor Gallagher, Trevor Chalobah. They generally tend to develop quite well there at Crystal Palace, and Crystal Palace seem to trust the players that we send to them as well. And they're not just like, oh, we might use you or whatever. They normally get quite a lot of game time. So Crystal Palace would be an excellent loan for Mamadou Sarr, I think. I don't know much about the new manager. Obviously, Glasner's not in tow anymore. I think he's taken the Forest job, actually, which is just a little bit wild, isn't it? But yeah, I think Mamadou Sarr to Crystal Palace on loan to help facilitate the Maxence Lacroix deal would be phenomenal business. Let me know what you think in the comments. Right, next up, we're going to talk about goalkeepers. Chelsea Dodgers posted this via Nizar Kinsella. For now, Chelsea's plan is to keep Robert Sanchez as their number one option, while under serious competition from Mike Penders. This has probably come out in a response to a lot of the goalkeeping rumours that have been circulating recently. We have been linked with James Trafford. We've been linked with Diogo Costa multiple times. So, there's some sort of thought or idea that, maybe we are going in for a goalkeeper. But Nizar Kinsella, Chelsea reporter, this is probably a line direct from the club. The plan is to, Robert Sanchez is training at the moment. Mike Penders will be joining him in the near future, obviously with Belgium being knocked out of the World Cup last week. This seems to be the plan at the end of the day. Now, I genuinely still believe that the goalkeeping situation in particular will be open up until the end of the window. I think that it seems crazy just to say this is the plan for the season right now when the window is going to be open. And if Mike Penders looks like he's got potential but is not quite ready for the Premier League, then you keep Rob Sanchez as your backup. You send Mike Penders on another loan that I don't think he'd struggle for suitors, by the way. It probably wouldn't be to Strasbourg because we're already, Gabriel Slonina is already on trial over there. There's talks about Philip Jorgensen, but he doesn't quite fancy it. But I don't think we'd struggle to get a loan move for Mike Penders at the end of the season. Mike Maignan is, always going to be an option, I think, even though he's very, very expensive for the age and stuff, and, obviously got knocked out of the World Cup as well. And there is Diogo Costa, there is Robin Roofs, there is James Trafford. Like, a lot of these, obviously as we get further and further into the window, a lot of these players' futures might be signed, sealed and delivered before we get the opportunity to get involved with them. But even I get why this is coming out, because it's the club being like, don't worry, this is the plan for the goalkeeping situation for now, and they're not immediately looking to spend money on a goalkeeper. Fair enough, but I genuinely believe if you get a few games into the season and you're not happy with either Robert Sanchez or Mike Penders, then Penders goes out on loan somewhere and we bring someone else to compete with Sanchez, the likes of Acosta, a Roofs, Mike Maignan, a Trafford, or something like that. We'll just have to see what happens. But let me know what you think in the comments. Academy players. So Chelsea Dodgers posted this via the Secret Scout. Chelsea are looking at sending Ryan Kavuma-McQueen out on loan. And then in another one from Chelsea Dodgers via Bobby Vincent, he said Shim Mayuka is in line to sign a new long-term contract at Chelsea before heading out on loan for the 26-27 season. So this is good. Kavuma-McQueen looks promising. He as a right winger. Some of you before have mentioned the possibility of him, maybe he could be a right wing back. Which is true as well. Shim Mayuka is phenomenal young talent, absolutely phenomenal young talent. Well too good for the definitely too good for the Premier League 2 or the academy team or whatever you want to call it at the moment. He needs to go out there. Where they're going to go, I guess, is the question. Ryan Kavuma-McQueen, albeit he looks good, I don't think he'd be as likely to get a high-profile loan as Shim Mayuka is. But Shim Mayuka could end. What I would like to see for Shim Mayuka is for him to get something like what Jesse Derry's just got with going to Sporting Lisbon. At the end of the day, Shim Mayuka's really young though, so that's so much pressure. But when it comes down to it, if we could get Shim Mayuka on a championship loan, cool. I still think that's good, so he can compete in a proper team at the end of the day. But if there is any possibility, like Kavuma-McQueen, maybe Strasbourg, but Shin Mayuka, I think it would be better to get him out there somewhere where we're a little bit less connected to him, so he can. I think we can kind of fast track his development that way. But yeah, really, really exciting players, both of them, to be completely honest. And we've done good work so far with the loans by getting Jesse Derry out to Sporting Lisbon. So it'd be really interesting to see what kind of loans we can get these guys. Kavuma McQueen, I think, is a bit less high profile than Shin Mayuka is at the moment, so I would like to see Shim get a really, really good deal, but it'll be interesting to see what happens anyway. And the last story of the day, Pice posted this via Di Marzio, Como and Chalobah, 8.5 million distance in valuation. Talks continue to reach an agreement. I swear, it's like one step forward and two steps back with this, isn't it? Like every single, like a couple of days, it's, it started off Trevor Chalobah to Como. That right? Okay, cool. It feels nailed on. All of a sudden, okay, maybe that's not so nailed on. Then all of a sudden, Inter Milan come out of nowhere and like, we'll have him. And then there's this whole thing. Como are like, oh yeah, well, if he really wants to go to Inter Milan, we'll drop out of the race. But then Inter Milan all of a sudden just kind of go quiet, and that felt really nailed on. But like I say, it went really quiet. And then we got the Crystal Palace news where Crystal Palace had inquired about him, and it's like, oh, that makes sense because he's been there before. And then a couple of days after that, then it comes out and it's like this close. It's this close. It's like the agreement's there. It's just ironing out the final details. But if this is to be believed, apparently it's not just ironing out the final details. Como and Chelsea apparently still have an £8.5 million distance in the valuation of Trevor Chalobah, which is that not in and around what it was already? Because it was 22 mil plus 5 mil add-ons was their initial bid, wasn't it? And then apparently since we've been renegotiating with them, the terms have been more favourable towards us, and it's going to be at least 30 mil was what we saw the other day. It was going to be 30 mil. 29.5 actually, if I'm being pedantic about it. But then again, so it's like, are we asking for more than 35 mil now? Because that would take that up to like 37. Do you know what I mean? I don't think that we're, because with everything that's going on with like the Pep Givardia deal at the moment as well, we can't be like that. We just need to get this deal over the line. If they are genuinely only offering 21.5 mil for Trevor Chalobah, then yes, I don't think that that's enough money. But it's just very counter to what a lot of the sources have been saying recently, that they were kind of happy to hit that 30 mil valuation. So look, this is from Di Marzio at the end of the day. This isn't from any of the Chelsea guys themselves. This is from a Italian outlet. But either way, that seems like a pretty big gap in valuation, doesn't it? That's a pretty big gap in valuation, bearing in mind it sounded like the deal was over the line already. So guys, Trevor Chalobah, I expect we won't hear anything now for another day or two, and then it will come out and it will be another, like Juventus will be like, oh, we'll pay 32 million for him, and then there'll be a gap in that valuation. I feel bad for Trevor Chalobah, man. He's just like, just let the man play football. Just get him to a club and let him play football. At this point, it's just mean, isn't it? It's just mean. Look, I would be really happy to keep Trevor Chalobah in the squad as a squad player, but I understand that from his perspective, he wants to go out and play first team football, and from the Chelsea perspective, that's 30 mil basically straight on the books. It feels like at the moment that Como is probably the one that's going to happen, but it felt like that at the beginning, and then Inter Milan come out, and that felt like the, when you get all of these conversations about things being agreed and all the money, do you know what I mean? It's like it starts to feel like the end of days when it comes to a transfer. But as far as Trevor Chalobah goes, like I say, man, it's just one step forward, two steps back. So guys, do you think that Como to Chalobah is the one? Do you think that's where he's going to end up going? Do you think that Inter Milan will come back in with another bid? Do you think Crystal Palace will make a swoop in for him, or do you think he'll just end up staying at the club? Like, it's all just predictions at this point, isn't it? Because like there's so many permutations of what might happen based on the news that's been coming out. It's impossible to say. And guys, I'm going to wrap the video up there, but I want to know what you think about everything that we've talked about today. Maxence Lacroix, 55 mil. I think that's a reasonable price for a solid Premier League, centre back with some winning credentials. Brilliant, I'll take that. What do you think about the Arsenal angle? Do you think that Arsenal genuinely would swoop in for him? Do you think that he'd be interested in that, bearing in mind how many good centre-backs they've already got on their books? Let me know what you think. Chelsea are looking to raise £300 million this season, and that is even without selling Enzo Fernandez and Mamadou Sarr. So 2 questions. Do you think that, so we're at 120 mil basically already. Do you think with the rest of our sales, that excluding Enzo Fernandez and Mamadou Sarr, do you think we can make another 180 mil minimum? And would you be happy to see both of Enzo Fernandez and Mamadou Gusto in the squad come the start of the season? Mamadou Sarr potentially on loan to Crystal Palace to help facilitate the Maxence Lacroix deal. Do you think that's a good idea, or do you think we should keep him around? Chelsea reiterate that Robert Sanchez and Mike Penders are going to fight it out for the number 1 this season. Do you think that that is genuinely how the whole season is going to go, or do you think, like I do, that this feels like it remains open until September the 1st, depending on how it starts going when we start playing competitive games? Ryan Kavuma McQueen and Shim Mayuka are going to be loaned out, with Shim Mayuka in particular potentially signing a new deal before he does. Where do you think they should go? If you could pick clubs for Shim Mayuka and Ryan Kavuma McQueen respectively, where would you send them to? And the Trevor Chalobah saga, it just goes on, man. It just goes on. Like I say, I'm genuinely just feeling bad for him at this point. I just want the guy to find a home. Nice one, guys. I'm going to wrap it up there. Thank you very much for sticking around until the end of the video. If you did, I will catch up with you all very, very soon. Take it easy. Peace.